What's up, YouTube? This is Big Mike. And there's been a lot of speculation about the future of LeBron James as far as what team he'll play for. Of course, the rumors are that LeBron James will leave, most definitely, the Cleveland Cavaliers after this upcoming season, the 2017-18 NBA season. And that one of the leading contenders, as far as franchises is concerned, that he will go to is Los Angeles Lakers. Longtime reporter Peter Vesey has stated that he thinks unequivocally that James is going to leave Cleveland after this upcoming season and play for the Los Angeles Lakers. I will not go as far as saying that there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to join the Lakers and no other team, but the evidence is starting to point that way. Of course, we know that James and his wife recently visited a very prestigious private high school near the Los Angeles area. After the upcoming season, I think that his son, who's now 12 years old and a promising basketball prospect in his own right, would be about the age where he'd be ready to go to high school. So that does make sense. From what I've read, he's tiring of Dan Gilbert. He did not like the trade for Kyrie Irving to Boston in exchange for Isaiah Thomas. I think he sees Thomas as a lesser player. Thomas is also seen as potentially damaged goods with the hip issue. No one knows how exactly that's going to affect him this upcoming season. You have a lot of players on the team that are question marks. You have Isaiah Thomas with the hip issue, and he's closing in on 30 years old. A lot of Isaiah Thomas's scoring ability is predicated on his athletic ability, and if he loses any of that athletic ability, he will not be a guy capable of scoring 29, 30 points a game anymore. Then, of course, you have Derrick Rose, the former MVP, who can still be effective at spots, but he's still not the player that he once was. He's an X factor. Then you have a lot of players on that team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been underperforming. Tristan Thompson. Goofballs, J.R. Smith. Overpaid, Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith. And, you know, Kevin Love is Kevin Love. I think he's a little bit overpaid in my opinion too, but I think Kevin Love is starting to fit into that system a little bit more, but he is what he is, okay? And also that team is kind of old. And while they did get some much-needed defensive players, younger defensive-oriented players on that team, Cleveland, that they desperately needed, because I think personally that Cleveland really took a big step backwards defensively last year. But when you have Richard Jefferson, who's closed in on 40 years old on your team, man, I don't know. But there's that. And the fact that his wife greatly wants to leave out of Cleveland. And, you know, I think the Kyrie Irving demand for a trade really blindsided James. And he knows that with the club that he has now in Cleveland, that they're not going to win a title this season coming up. So it does make some sense that maybe he'll go to L.A. For those who are saying, well, you know, L.A. may not go to the playoffs next year, we got to remember this, though. The season prior to James coming back to Cleveland, which was what was that? The 2013-14 season, I think it was. I think Cleveland only went like 33-49 that year, so they didn't make the playoffs. But you could see the talent there. You could see pieces, and you see what the Lakers are doing now. They got a lot of young talent. Lonzo Ball is who he is. Some people are comparing him to Jason Kidd. You know, Jason Kidd is an established Hall of Famer. You have to see what Lonzo Ball will be able to do. That's a tall order for Lonzo Ball to accomplish. I don't know whether he'll be as good as Jason Kidd or not, but I think that if the Lakers were to even get close to the playoffs this year, that might be more than enough for James, and will pretty much solidify his decision to join the Lakers, I think. This is the cons, though. After the 2017-18 season, James will be 33 years old. Now, while I don't think that's necessarily too old, you have to remember that 33 years old in today's basketball is older than it used to be, because these guys come, back in the day, these guys used to go to college and come out of college when they're 22, 23, maybe even old as 24 years old. So they only had 9 or 10 years of wear and tear on them, or so, by the time he was 33 years old. But James has been playing the NBA since he was 18. So he'll have 15 years of wear and tear on him. So James is already not the player that he was in his Miami Heat days, when he was, in my opinion, at that level of playing, where he was playing at that level, day in and day out, where he played defense on a nightly basis, where his size truly confounded offensive players, and where he was just playing on another level, night in and night out. I thought that he was that level player, perhaps the second or third greatest player ever. I mean, if he was able to play at that level, well, really be honest with you, if he was able to play at that level all his career, I think he would have contend Michael for greatest. Now, hear what I'm saying? I'm talking about at that level when he was playing in Miami, outside of the 2011 NBA Finals. But the LeBron that's out there now, he's not as good. And some people say, well, look at his numbers and look at his rebounds and assists. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, James has a lot more shooters around him than he did earlier in his career. You know what I mean? Like, if you were to put these shooters that he has now around James when he was younger, back in when he was 25, 26 years old, he probably averaged 10 assists plus per game back then when he was playing 40, 41 minutes per game. Because back then, who did he really have that were like great shooters? I mean, he had, what was the guy that was married to Keisha Cole? Boogie Gibson, Daniel Gibson. He was a good three-point shooter. I think he had Donnell Marshall one year, maybe. He didn't have a lot of great shooters around him then, you know what I mean? And just athletically, he's not as good as he used to be. He can't do the same things that he did. Anybody that's watched James since 2003 know what I'm talking about. He's still a great basketball player, but he's not the guy that he once was. It's sort of like Michael Jordan, you know what I mean? When Michael Jordan came back after 95, he was still a great player. I think he was still the best player far and away in the league, but it wasn't the same separation where, Michael was just the best guy when he was in his prime, and then it was contention for second best. Whereas when he came out of retirement in 95, there was some speculation as to who was the best. Was it earlier on Jordan or Olajuwon? Then later on, was it Jordan or Hill, or was it Jordan or O'Neal? It was some debate at that time, particularly that last season when I thought Michael really degraded athletically, 97, 98. But back to James. I think the other con also is that this will fuel more animus toward people who see James as a guy who cuts and runs. I'm just being honest. A lot of people who listen to this video are going to thumb it down because I'm saying that when you're a guy who do videos, you have to be objective. You can't be a fanboy. Now, sometimes I get on James because sometimes I'm pissed off at him. Sometimes I get pissed off at some of the things that he do. But when he does things that I think are admirable, such as his social stances and social moves and and political, well, I'll say social stances. I commend him for that. But I do think that if he leaves Cleveland for the second time, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be disappointed and they're going to be critical. That's just the bottom line about that. And if you don't think that's the case, then you're kind of being delusional. You know what world we live in. So that's all I got to say about that. But tell me what you guys think.